I'm Alex. I'm 20, and I want to talk about lowering your standards and why it's stupid, and why people saying like, "Oh, you have such high standards" is dumb. And why you shouldn't listen to them, and why you should actually keep your standards high. So I've noticed that whenever I talk about my standards specifically for relationships and my standard of living and like how I want to maintain my life and how I want my life to go, um there are people that will like actively be like, you need to lower your standards, you can't have your standards that high, or like this famous dating coach that was like, oh, you'll only get 70% of what you want. I refuse to compromise. I refuse. I simply won't do it. And no one can make me. Because like lowering your standards for living, for dating, for work, it is literally just going to put you in a lower place. Like, if I want to be with someone, right, and I'm looking for a partner that I want to be with for the rest of my life, why would I only look for someone, like, if I want financial stability, I want them to have like a good standard of taking care of themselves, and I also want someone that believes in like spoiling their girlfriend. Why would I only pick 2 out of 3 of those things? Because like, how am I gonna have the spoiling your girlfriend without the financial stability? And why would I want to date someone that doesn't care about self-grooming and like how they look? So no, I'm not just gonna pick 70% of what I want. I'm gonna have all of it, because if I don't, then guess what? The person that I end up being with is not going to be the type of person that I'm compatible with, and then that's going to lead to relationship issues, and then you're like, it's just going to be miserable. Like, why would you compromise on that? Same with like work and standards of living. If you're working a job and you know that you deserve a raise and the job refuses to give it to you, why would I stay there? I can go get a job somewhere that's going to pay me more to do what I know I'm worth. Like, why would I stay in a job that's not going to meet my standards? And honestly, I do understand people that are like, oh, well, I'm having trouble getting hired. This is why I recommend, the second you notice that your job isn't treating you correctly, look for another job. Start looking right then and there. You don't have to tell anyone about it. You don't have to be a bitch about it, but start looking. Because if they're not meeting your standards, that's only going to continue to happen. Like, my first like full-time job where I was working 40 to 45 hours a week, I don't currently work right now because I'm with someone that meets all of my standards to where I don't have to work and I can live at home and be a homemaker, which is what I personally want to do. But the first real job I had, where I was working 45 hours a week, I knew that I deserved a raise because I was doing my job and I was helping other people do their jobs, which was not a part of my job. All right. And the owner knew this. He knew that like I was coming in whenever they were calling me. And so I was like, look, if I don't get a raise, I'm going to leave. And so I got the raise. But they didn't want to give it to me so bad that they started cutting my hours. They started, whenever I would come into work, like my things would be moved around and missing. I started like actively getting bullied by the place I was working for because they so badly did not want to give me what I was worth. So I quit and I went and worked another job that was paying me more because they were not meeting my standards, and I am not going to lower my standards for anyone. The same thing with your standard of living. I have recently moved in with aforementioned boyfriend because I don't have to work. Whenever I first moved in, he was like, oh, well, there's certain things you're not going to be able to do because like you're not living at home and yada yada yada. And I was like, no, we actually can meet all of my standards. It just might not be as often as I would like, but I will still maintain my standard of living no matter where I am. I will still make sure that my nails they're not done right now, but I'm getting them done this week. My hair, I have all of my hair care treatment stuff, and we go out shopping for it once a week. My skincare, all of it's done. I personally don't believe in gym memberships, but like, I'm walking all the time. We go to the farmer's market to get our groceries because I believe in fresh produce. Like, all of my standards of living will be met. They may not be met immediately. Like, the first week I moved in, I wasn't going to the cryo chamber to get my fucking, like, freeze treatment done, which is something that I do for my back pain. But, like, after the first month where I had settled down, I was able to go do that. So, don't think that whenever someone's not meeting your standards, if they are willing to work with you to meet those standards, like, help them do that. You don't need to be impatient. You don't need to be a bitch. But you do need to know your own value and know what you will not compromise on. So, yeah, it did take a little bit of time for me to get back to where I had everything that I wanted at my fingertips. But it ended up happening because I'm with people that know that, look, these are what I think that I need in order to be happy and to have a comfortable life. And if these things aren't met, I'm not going to stay. And everyone around me knows that. My other thing that I won't compromise on is friendships. I will not be friends with people that I personally do not find attractive in looks and personality, right? And people think this is very shallow of me. They think that this is very conceited. I don't think so. I have found that every single time I am friends with someone that I don't find physically and mentally attractive, not in necessarily a romantic way, but like, oh, you're so interesting and alluring and I want to spend time with you. Whenever I'm not doing that, the people that tend to still want to be my friend that aren't mentally or physically attractive, they're jealous. And jealous people will try and sabotage you. And it is not fun or cute. I know that, like, people are like, oh, if someone's not jealous of you, you're not winning. That's true in a way, but you don't have to surround yourself with those jealous people because they are going to try and tear you down. They're going to try and make you feel insecure. Like, the most insults I've ever gotten were from girls who were secretly jealous of me, who wanted to live the standard of living that I was living, who wanted the relationship that I was in, who wanted the comfort that I had. And allowing yourself to consistently be around those people is going to lower your self-esteem to the point where you start believing them. And that is not something that you should do. Because if you're a pretty girl, or if you come from some sort of privilege, or you have worked hard to attain a privilege, then people that don't know anything about you are just going to assume shit and act on it, whether or not it's true. Like, I had so many rumors started about me, whenever I was working, like, full-time, and I had coworkers that, like, knew me and were like, no, this isn't true, like, that's bullshit, yada yada. But, like, certain managers that were jealous of the fact that, like, I knew the owner of the restaurant before I started working there, and that my mom knew the owner of the restaurant before I started working there, they would try and say, like, oh, she doesn't work hard, she's not doing anything, like, she every time, like, she gets a tip, it's just because, like, they know her mom and yada yada. And that wasn't true. And I didn't feel the need to combat anything or to, like, stick up for myself in that sense, because I would just separate myself from those coworkers and those managers. Like, I would request to be taken off the schedule for whenever they were working, because why would I put myself in a position where people are trying to bring me down? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I already am trying to work on my self-esteem. So why would I put myself in a position where I'm around people that actively want to see me feel bad about myself and who actively want to see me fail? Because then I'm just going to start believing them, and eventually I'm going to believe that I'm a failure and that, like, oh, they're right, I can't really do anything, and all my success really did actually just come from the fact that I knew the owner and they knew my mom or whatever, and actually I don't work hard and I could be doing so much better. When in reality, the whole reason I left the restaurant to begin with was because I wasn't being paid for my work properly. Like, yes, I did have a privilege in knowing the owner, but that did not equate to the owner knowing my worth. So I had to leave. So lowering your standards is actively putting yourself in a position where people feel as if they can treat you less than. And if you don't hold yourself to a certain standard and you don't say, okay, I know that I am worth so much more than this, I'm just gonna leave, then people are gonna think they can treat you that way. And that is why I think that being humble is stupid and lowering your standards is stupid.